Good morning, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? I am good. All right, so first, let us look at gold. Gold 26.15 and silver 29.43. I'm going to go run and buy some. Well, I love to get a quarter ounce if I can find it, and if I can, I'm going to buy my final two ounce maple leafs. I got 12. There's 14 in the tube, which is actually 28 ounces. So I'm going to get the final two if I can't find a quarter ounce of gold. I prefer the quarter ounce, especially now. It'll only be maybe 650, 675, which would be perfect. Anyway, man, who's texting me? All right, let's listen to this, Tech. Inflation is destroying wealth and savings. Reply yes to get our free 10 must know big reasons to buy gold and silver right now. And I'm going to say F. And then I'm going to block the number. How dare they intrude on the professor? What do they see me teaching in class and they start texting me right after I start? So anyway, again, we don't care about this. This is paper gold. I do have a little one on alligator, which I think is from Mark McGuire. And I shared with you egons yesterday. And then there's a few China going broke where the people are actually all can't get their money out of the bank, which is, we've seen this before. Football. Yesterday, I win Seattle and the Bears. I play it under 48, 49. And they play a whopping 6-3 game. Who would watch this game on, what was it, Peacock or Amazon or whatever? I mean, nobody in their right mind's buying these channels. So unless you already have the channel, and then even then, Netflix, I barely watched the games Wednesday. I watched a little of the Pittsburgh game, and once it was 29-10, I turned it off. In Baltimore, I watched a little of it, and then when it hit 17-2 or 24-2, I maybe watched a half hour, but I wouldn't have bought Netflix to watch the two games. But I already have Netflix to watch Money Heist. Anyway, so let's take a look at the line, if I can find it. Okay. Let's go to the pros. So Seattle winning doesn't really change much. It makes the Rams have to win, which they had to do anyway. If the Rams lose, then I think Seattle can beat the Rams and maybe get in. I'm not sure. I did look, and they're doing a real bad job of telling you who is in and not in the playoffs because they'll just say who's the probable ins. Too much AI and analytic crap. But it wouldn't say is was Arizona having a chance? Actually, no. Is what was Seattle? They are still mathematically in it. So let's go through who is out in the NFC first, then the AFC. So we know Arizona's out. So the Rams win and they're in. Arizona really doesn't have anything to play for then, which is a whole different scenario. The Niners are out. Dallas is out. New Orleans, Chicago, Carolina, and the Giants. Basically all the shit teams. So that leaves 2, 4, 6, 7, which leaves a little battle between Washington, Atlanta, Tampa, and the Rams and Seattle, which I don't know if they can get. What's Seattle at now? So Seattle is now they're 8-7. They're 9-7. So if the Rams lose, obviously they would win the division if they would be. The Rams the Rams are 9-6. So they got 2 games to play. So if the Rams lose both and they win, then they're in. Obviously, Arizona's out because they can only go to 9-8. And the worst that the Rams would do is 9-8. Atlanta and Tampa, and then Washington at 10. So Washington can go to 10-7. I don't know if Seattle would beat. I mean, obviously Washington's not in yet, so they have to win one more game, and they get Atlanta this week. So Seattle is still alive. The Rams obviously win, and they win the division. Atlanta and Tampa, whoever, I think if it ends in a tie, it's Atlanta if they both go 10-7. But I doubt Atlanta will beat Washington this week. Obviously, Detroit, Minnie, and Green Bay are in. Philly's in. Washington obviously needs one more. So Dallas, we know, is out. So it comes to Washington, Atlanta, and then what would be interesting would be Atlanta then wins the next week. I think they win the South. And if Tampa win, they both go 10-7, Washington goes 10-7. Apparently, Washington wouldn't make it, but we will see. So anyway, Rams win and they're in. Arizona's out of it, so we will see that tomorrow. In the AFC, the Jets, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Oakland, and New England are all out, which means San Diego, Denver haven't clinched, but just need one more win, and they will clinch the wild card. Indy, I guess, is still in it, and they play the Giants, who suck. So Indy, but Richardson's questionable. He's got a back problem, but I'm sure he'll play up to his great standards, would suck. So they can go 9-8. And if LA and San Diego and Denver go 9-8, I guess they beat. I don't know. Baltimore and Pitt are in. Cincinnati does have a chance, but not a likely chance. So they could go 9-8, and they would have beat Denver. And if Denver finishes 9-8, Cincinnati's ahead of them. But other teams have to lose for Cincinnati to make it. So there's not much of a chance. And Miami, same thing, 9-8, but it's a very slim hope. So Buffalo's in at 12-3. Baltimore and Pitt are in. Who's going to win the division? Probably Baltimore, the way they're playing and the way Pitt's playing. Since he can only get to 9-8, which can't catch Pittsburgh. Houston's clinched at 9-7. They'll probably end up 9-8. And then KC's got the 1 seed at 15-1. And again, San Diego and Denver, most likely. Denver's got to play at Cincy, and then they got to play at Kansas City. How much is Kansas City going to play? They've already clinched. They've clinched the 1 seed. Mahomes has the high ankle sprain, which you wouldn't know it. So we'll see what happens with that. Not quite sure. I doubt he would play next week. They only got 1 game, so they got Denver, especially if Denver has to win. So the odds on Denver should beat Cincy, and then if KC rests, then I would imagine they would beat KC if they have to. San Diego at 9-6 gets New England. I don't know who they play the next week. Well, if Denver play KC, they get Oakland because it's all division the last week or so. So they would kill Oakland if they need to win. So you look for San Diego in. So it's really Denver and Cincinnati here. Indy still with a possibility. Cincinnati beats Denver, then they have a chance, and then Miami, apparently at 9-8, has a chance, but it takes a miracle. A lot of other teams have to win and lose. It's like strength of schedule then, so it's really fucked up. Miami has got at Cleveland, so we will see. We'll know more. I mean, if Denver beats Cincinnati tomorrow, then it's it. Denver's in, San Diego's in, and we got everybody else. We got Pitt in as the wild card, and or Baltimore. Buffalo wins. Houston's won. KC's won. So everything's all set if Denver beats Cincy and San Diego. San Diego will win tomorrow. That'll be it. The Rams win, and they win the West, and then it becomes probably Atlanta, Tampa to chase Washington would be my guess. Anyway, it's very confusing because they're like, I had to actually type in, does Arizona still have a chance? And it said, no, they're out of it. And then you had to go, is Miami still in? Well, if 18 teams lose and strength of schedule, they would win. They could make it. But if they just win out, they can't make it. So I don't know. I think it's a lot of winning games in the conference and things like that. All right. Let's go to the odds. So Seattle wins. Probably the most boring game in the history of life, 6-3 against the Bears. Caleb looked really good, but he gets sacked 5 times. He overthrows his receivers. He wants to scramble every play. He goes back. I've never seen him like sit in the pocket and throw. Occasionally, like I'd say 1 in 10 of his passes, he's doing that. He goes back and he looks and he's not scrambling, and then he overthrows the guy. Very rarely does he throw it. And then 90% of his passes are screens or short passes to that. Just a second. I got to talk to Dario when I get a chance. One second, everybody. This is what happens when you date intercontinent, the time zone. She's on probably 6:00 in the afternoon. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So we start off tomorrow. So 3 games Saturday. They're on the NFL Network, so they will not be watched. Who has the NFL Network? Anybody here have the NFL Network? Seriously? If you do, why? You get enough on and CBS and Fox. I'm glad I don't have that Prime. I have to listen to Herb Kirkstreet or Kirk Herbstreit. No, Herb Kirkstreet I like. I mean, what an idiot that guy is. He never shuts up and he never says anything. Just like Tony Romo, and I don't know what Tom Brady's doing. He's making his image look like shit. These guys are just pathetic. Anyway, so 1:00 tomorrow, we got San Diego 4.5, 42.5. So we're going to have Herbert going against Drake May. Drake May, he does a lot of running, kind of, but at the 40-yard line. So he gains 10 yards and everybody, big fucking deal. You're much better off throwing a pass and letting your receivers catch the ball and keep them in the game and then run after it. Hi, Jacob. Greg Olson's pretty good, but Tom Brady took his spot on all the good games. Greg Olson, there's another guy who sounds just like Greg Olson. He's okay. The problem is I'm used to John Madden, Pat Summerall, and Al Michaels and Howard Cosell and Don Meredith and all the good broadcasters. The best had to be Kirk Gowdy and the guys who'd call the playoff games, and so you're spoiled. And then you hear these idiots, and they're just talking, and everything's a great play, like they've never seen anybody play, make a catch. All right. Yeah, so I'm used to those. It's like Vegas. I've watched the movie The Gambler with James Caan's on Tubi right now. No, Pluto. So many commercials. But I watch it, and I only watch it for his hot streak in Vegas. And he starts off at the dunes, and then he goes, I don't know where he goes. He goes downtown to the Four Queens or something, and then he goes to Caesars. And at the end, he's in his room, and they show you the strip, and there's nothing on the strip, it's just Caesars, and you can see the Stardust. He might be staying at the Sands, I'm not sure. And you just see that sign. It's Stardust in blue, and then all the little stars pop up, and it turns to white. That's what you love about Vegas, and that's what I miss about it. And so a lot of the times, what you really like, they take away. Now it's all there's no very very few. There's very few signs like that light up and the colors, which is what I liked the most about Vegas was the colors and then all the gambling and the numbers, right? That's why I'm an analyst. And so that's my favorite part of that movie. And then bitching at him for stopping at Backrack after winning 3 hands in a row and stopping at Blackjack after doubling down in 18 and hitting the 3. No. You're not done. You're just beginning. When you're doing that shit, you're there another 5 hours, man. He doesn't know how to gamble. So you play your streaks till they die. You don't get blackjack and leave. You get blackjack and you're sitting until you finally start getting 12 22s. Then it's time to leave. But I do believe in the streak. Jacob, see, you got to experience the real legends. Now we got trash. Keith Jackson, if you ever watch some old Michigan, Ohio State, USC, UCLA games like in the 70s, and watch the Rose Bowls in 72 and 73, 74. They're all on YouTube. And they're all with Kurt Gowdy and Keith Jackson. And there's a game, the Anthony Davis game, 1973, when he gets 20 touchdowns and he runs the kickoff back. It's Keith Jackson and Woody Hayes is doing the color. And there's games where Joe Paterno does the color with Keith Jackson. And that's That's what drew you in. Now I don't know anybody that would watch because Tom Brady's on or Tony Romo, and they're paying these guys all this money. Why? Nobody watches the game because Tony Romo's on it. I'm watching because it's San Diego and Denver, or it's San Diego, Kansas City. I'm not watching Tony Romo, and I'm not watching Troy Aikman, and I'm certainly not watching because Tom Brady's on or any of these analysts. And the worst is Herb Kirkstreet, who I can't stand. I want to throw up. Now he's doing college and pro, and you just want to go, why? This guy, it brings nothing to the table. Can't analyze shit. All they'll say is, well, the receiver made a great block. I don't give a fuck. I want the receiver to make a great catch, not a block. And they'll just say, what an incredible catch because you caught it one-handed, because we haven't seen any one-handed catches. We've seen like 100 of them now. It's not a big deal. They got big hands. The ball is probably smaller, and it's nothing for them to catch it one-handed. And they make it sound like it's a miracle. And you're like, you just want to throw up watching these things. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Okay. So this is tomorrow at 1. So San Diego, 4.5, 42.5. I'm not aware of any injuries. We'll check quickly. Obviously, let's check the weather. It's snow, rain, overcast. This is in New England, and 35, 36, 38 miles an hour, 38 degrees, a very light wind. Not even really snow. It says rain, overcast. That's the thing and beauty of San Diego with the defense. It doesn't matter about it. Let's look at their injuries. Let's see. Anybody we know? Gus Edwards is out with an ankle. Well, he's been out. J.K. Dobbins is now questionable with a knee. Hunter Hearst Helmsley from the WWE's, their tight end, is questionable. And that's it. So we don't see Bosa. We don't see Khalil Mack. We don't see Herbert. Good signs. New England, questionables, cornerbacks out. The rest are questionable. And I tell you, I don't even know any of these players. C. Jacobs is questionable, a linebacker. Like they got terrible coach, terrible players. So we're healthy, San Diego. Now, do you play San Diego or do you play the under in the game? Because it should be an under game with San Diego's defense. So San Diego is an under team with a 18 defense and Herbert against New England, who's an E team with the 24 defense. So they're scoring more at Drake May. He's got like 10 touchdowns already and about 8 interceptions. So he's a little bit better getting some more points where Brissett couldn't score. But he still runs too much, and he's still against Buffalo last week. They had the ball at the end of the game at the inside the 10 for like 10 minutes. I mean, they must have ran 15 plays inside the 10 and couldn't score. They finally scored at the end. But it was 2 pass interferences that gave him the ball to 1. And I'm waiting for the field goal. That puts me over. And I'm waiting. And they finally score a touchdown. And I get the over. But I'm like, he's terrible. And the play calling is so bad. You've got to do play action pass to Dave Casper. That's how you score in the goal line. It's because they're all going to bite on the run. So you either do what Russell Wilson did, which is fake it and run around the end, or you're going to do fake it and hit the tight end. And I've never seen faking it, hitting the tight end not work. So that, because they always jump in on the run because they're so run heavy now. So with that said, they're just a terrible, they're going to struggle because Khalil Mack and Bosa will put pressure on May and not let him run, and you'll get a few interceptions here. And with Herbert, they're not going to lose this game. This wraps it up. I think you can trust San Diego and Harbaugh, and not that I really trust Harbaugh too much, but so this is a must-win for San Diego. In the trends, they're 26-6 the last 2 years, 13-2 this year, 8-0 as a road favorite. Play against New England as a home dog, 9-2. So this is what you have here. You pretty much It's take San Diego, play against New England. Yeah, I'd just be surprised. What would New England do to win? Special teams, I guess. The weather, 35 is not, not a big deal for San Diego, not for pro football. All right. Denver, Cincinnati. Now, this is kind of a playoff game. Cincinnati theoretically wins and wins again, and Denver loses to KC next week. And because they beat them, I think Cincy, with a slim hope, and then other teams have to lose for them to make the playoffs. So it's not simply beat Denver. Denver loses to KC. They win against, I think they play Pittsburgh next week, and they're in. I don't think it's that simple, but Cincinnati does have a slight hope, so they, of course, will play. Denver's a B team. This is a 3 and 49.5, 50. Denver a B team, 19 defense. They beat a lot of bad teams. They played San Diego close twice, and they lost to KC because they got the field goal blocked. So Denver's a pretty strong team. Bo Nix, not a rookie anymore, brings that Oregon flavor to it, and you got Sean Payton. Cincinnati, their weakness is their defense. It's a 26. So they're an over team, 26 defense. Obviously, we got Nix against Burrow. So they're not going to stop Burrow and Chase. You can't stop. Nobody can stop them. It doesn't matter what team. KC couldn't stop them. Baltimore couldn't stop them. Nobody's stopping them. So Denver will put up points. Cincinnati will put up points. Denver, Knicks, pretty good. Seems to be okay. It's not his first game. The first few games you're a little nervous. Now he's much more comfortable. And the Cincinnati defense can be shredded, as we've seen it with the 26 defense. I think this game comes down to the end. I'm not sure Denver will win and clinch. You can't really fuck with Burrow and Chase. So we'll have to see what happens here. The weather here is 62 and partly cloudy with 9-mile-an-hour winds. So we got great weather here. You got to keep. So I'm on this weather channel, right? Actually, I'm in covers, and you go into the weather in the game, and it tells you. Let's check injuries. These are as of December 25th, and okay, we got nobody really out. A couple of questionables. Cincinnati. Anybody out? Doubtful. Hudson, the tight end's doubtful. Hubbard, a defensive end's out. Rankins, a defensive tackle's out. Higgins, questionable. Joe Burrow, it says injured wrist. There's no way he's missing, and we don't see Chase. So feeling pretty good about it. I just think you're going to see a lot of points in the game. I don't see how you won't. You cannot see. This is the difference in why I bitch at these young quarterbacks, and I say they can't read a blitz. You blitz Burrow, and you're going to give up touchdowns. That's how you handle it. You blitz Mahomes, you're fucked. You blitz Brady, you're fucked. You cannot blitz these guys. You blitz Caleb, you blitz Stroud, Richardson, all these young guys who don't know what the fuck they're doing, aren't pros, and you blitz them and they get sacked. They take too long to get rid of the ball, and that's the problem. Hey, Todd. Bowling Green, the bowlers were in the gutter. No, I didn't see. Well, I didn't see your email. Yeah, I just looked before I started, but Bowling Green, well, the line went all the way up to 10. It was a fluky game. There was a punt return, and I looked, and it was the normal quarterback for Arkansas State who did nothing. He kept doing these reverse spins and stuff, and it was just a little bit of turnovers and punt return and stuff like that. And Bowling Green scored a lot. They had a 20 defense. I don't know where that went, but yeah, it was strange. I see Navy's down to 1. Oklahoma went from 3 to 1. So we'll see. But yeah, Bowling Green. That's why it's tough to bet some of these bowl games, especially the MAC teams. I was surprised I did have Bowling Green, but that's what happens. That wasn't really that big of a play for me. Not like some of the other ones I played today and tomorrow. Um, but that's gambling, and it just didn't. If they play 10 times, Bowling Green probably wins 9. But again, it's a bowl game, and the Rayner guy, he's not a good quarterback. So anyway, um, just keep plugging away. A lot of pros this week. I got 4 locks in the pros. We've already played one. Baltimore was the first lock. And then I got a college pro lock, 35 unit. Love it. All right. So Denver, Cincy, 49. There'll be points. It's Burrow and Chase. And their defense is not very good. So look for that. It's not raining, so everything's good there. Arizona and the Rams. So now we see Arizona's out. The Rams need it to win the West. Now, can they win the West? So you got Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka and Williams, the running back. Their defense is a little shaky. Now, this is where Kyler Murray lit them up, put up 41 points on them the first game in Arizona, week 5 or 6. So Arizona will still play. They're not going to just fall down. They're not going to, save themselves for the NFL draft, and they are getting paid. So I don't see them not playing, and that is the rub. Will LA choke because they need the game, and Arizona knows they need the game, and Arizona's not going to just let them have it either. So we got Arizona, an under team with a 23 defense, and it's Murray against Stafford. I like the pencil in the quarterbacks. The Rams are an even team with a 23 defense. This is 6.5, 47.5. We don't need to check the weather. Let's check the injuries. See, it's hard to do it Wednesday because the injuries aren't out till Wednesday. So all I could do was Christmas. So now we can see the injuries. Todd, yes, I'm playing the ones you gave me. Yeah, no, well, they're, do I love the Navy? No, I don't. And it's not a lock or anything. I just like them or teams like that. So you just be careful with it. But yeah, I just feel those are half of Oklahoma's not playing. The quarterback transferred. I love that. The Oklahoma quarterback who sucks transferred. I think he went to Auburn. So you got there's different degrees. I like them. I don't love them. You see what the lock is, and that's the one to tee off on. Notice Boise's now only at 10.5, down from 11.5. I feel very strongly Boise is going to win that game. Watching the Oregon game, watching Penn State USC and Penn State Minnesota. Yeah, Penn State doesn't travel very well. They choke a lot, as you know. They got lucky they didn't play Indiana or Michigan. So, I mean, they had a very weak schedule also. So I'm not sure how good they are. Oregon put up 40 on them, and Boise will probably do similar. All right, Arizona. Connor questionable. Prater, the kicker's out. Blunt, safety's out. And that said, I don't see Murray or anything. What a wasted pick Marvin Harrison was. He's terrible. LA is very healthy. Nobody's out. The lineman is questionable with the shoulder and injured with the rest. So they will be at a pretty healthy stage. Puka, Cooper Kupp. No weather because we're in a dome. So again, Rams must win the game to win the West. Arizona's out of it. So the incentive's there, but is Arizona going to lay down? See, I'm not sure. Arizona played them really well, so I'm not quite just sure like, oh, let's lock the Rams. Again, their defense, they're both 23 defenses. LA's an even team. So they score about 25, where Arizona scores about 20, 21. So again, they lost to fucking Carolina last week, Arizona. So they choke. So I'm not, I think San Diego wins. They have to win. I don't know about Denver because Cincinnati can still get there. I didn't know about Seattle last night. They had to win, and they barely did, but they did win. Baltimore had to win, and I knew they were going to clean house. And then KC, Pitt needed it and didn't show up. KC needed it and did show up, and that's the Mahomes factor. So again, LA should win the game, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as they're going to, win by 20. So just keep an eye on that one. Jacksonville is 139.5. I'm not going to spend too much time on those shit games. Tennessee's a W team, 28 defense. Jacksonville's a Z team. Mac Jones is just terrible. And I believe it's Kyle Rudolph. And Rudolph's a whole lot better. See, I don't get it. You sit there with Will Levis, who sucked in college. You think he's going to be better in the pros? And so you go to Levis, and he sucks. And well, let's play him some more. It's sort of like baseball. Well, we got to give him 400 at bats to see that he sucks, because we can't tell in the first 200 games that he sucks, even though he's hitting 180. Yeah, we can't really tell. The Tigers do that with their first baseman. I can't even think of his name. He just is terrible. He can't even hit 200, but yet they keep bringing him out there. And every once in a while, the blind squirrel hits a home run, and he gets hot, goes 3 for 4, and then he's back to 180. And at what point do you realize he can't hit? Right? Pretty much, he can't hit, right? And so that's the thing. At what point are they going to sit there with Will Levis? Kyle Rudolph, or not Kyle, Mason Rudolph's, he was pretty good at Oak State, and they score a lot more with him. So play against Tennessee's 26-6, 13-2 this year. Play against Jacksonville, 13-2 this year. So neither team you want to bet on. However, we have a situation where we have both. I think Tennessee's a live dog here just because Jacksonville is so bad. I don't know. Over, under, you got to be kidding. All right. Buffalo against the Jets's. Buffalo is back up to 10-46. They were down to 8.5 yesterday. So minus 10, from 47 to 46. Rodgers against Allen. I believe if the line is up, Allen's playing. He did hurt his hand or his elbow. I watched the play. I didn't see anything. He landed on his left side, and his right elbow was hurting. And I never saw anybody touch his right elbow. So I don't know what the fuck's going on there. The Jets are an under team with Rodgers. They're starting to score a little bit more with Devontae Adams, but not. I don't think they hit 25 points in the game. And Buffalo, an A team with the 22. They got their clinch last week, blowing out. Who did they blow out? They blew out New England. Well, they didn't blow out New England. They won 24-21. But more importantly, they went over with New England. It's hard to well, first we got weather to worry about. It's in Buffalo. It's 54 degrees. Wow. Wind about 11, 12 miles an hour. And we've got rain. So we got a rainy, not a little bit of wind there. Injuries. The Jets's, there's 15 guys on the injured list. but nobody is out. Aaron Rodgers injured knee, but he's not out. Buffalo, Josh Allen injured elbow, but he's injured. He's not out. If he was out or doubtful, it would say. So it just says injured. And we wouldn't see the line go up to 10 if he's injured, right? If he's out. So I'm sure he'll play. Do they really care about getting the 2 seed? Because they're looking at the 2 seed, right? It's Baltimore and Buffalo tie. Baltimore kicked their ass in Baltimore, but they have a 2-game lead on them. So if they lose, they'd have a 1-game lead. Now, do they care about the 2 seed? Maybe you get Denver instead of San Diego. Does that matter? No. They're both the same. Pretty good defenses, pretty good quarterbacks, very good coaches. So I don't know that you're really trying to win to avoid a shit team. So we'll see. Maybe it helps you down the road where you would host maybe the only thing I could see is you win your first game and Baltimore wins their first game. The game's at Buffalo because it would be 2 against 3 and 1 would play 4. So KC would get Houston, and then Buffalo's at home to Baltimore. Maybe that's what they would play for if Baltimore doesn't choke in their first round like they usually do. So I don't see anybody out for Buffalo out of the ordinary. Milano's always injured. Jesus Christ. So we got a little bit of weather there. They're used to it in Buffalo. So again, Buffalo doesn't really need it, but maybe we'll play. And then the Jets are out. The Jets look like shit the whole year. Coaching problems and everything else. Play against the Jets's are 14-1 this year. Play against them as a road dog, 7-0. Buffalo is 13-2 in a teaser. So the Jets 14-1 against Buffalo, 13-2 in a. When I saw 8.5, I didn't know what was going on. So I'm probably not playing this game. As bad as the Jets are, it's still Aaron Rodgers. I think the Buffalo, I don't know what they're playing for, so I don't know. Are they going to play the whole game? How good's Josh Allen's hand and elbow, whatever? Are they going to rest him in the second half? So there's too many unknowns. They don't need the game. They can't get the 1 seed. If they could have, if KC lost yesterday, I'd be all over the Buffalo, but they really don't, to me, have much incentive. Tampa, Carolina, they do have incentive. Tampa is 8-48. Excuse me. Carolina is getting better. They're scoring a little bit more. They're playing KC pretty good. Tampa pretty good. They're a W team, maybe an E team with a 30 defense. The defense is still giving up 30 points. They gave up 30 to Arizona. It was 30-30 at the end. Tampa Bay, an over team with the 24 defense. They did lose to Dallas. They did beat Philadelphia, which is very hard to do. So Tampa, an over team. So Tampa's going to score. The Baker should have a huge day here because of this defense. And are they going against I'm not sure who they're going against. He's got Steve Young's got a tweaked hamstring, and he's listed as questionable. But if we get Andy Dalton, it's even better. So Tampa must win. Carolina's out of it. Tampa is 13-2 this year in a teaser. They're not a great home favorite because I didn't record that they're like 6-0 at home. But if they're 13-2, they're pretty good. Let's look at everything. The weather, 75 in Tampa with rain throughout the day, but not big winds. 7-mile-an-hour winds, 75 degrees, rain and cloudy. Does that really matter in NFL? The quarterbacks don't have a problem throwing the ball. Gets a little bit wet, but they got big hand. They can throw the ball. I think the balls are smaller because these guys, they're all kicking 60-yard kicks. I mean, if you watch these old games, you couldn't, if it was 45 yards, the kicker would leave it short. I don't know what's going on. I think the ball's like baseball where they condensed it and you can kick it further and you can throw it farther. I don't know, but something doesn't smell right. Injuries. Carolina, we've got anybody out? They got 20 guys, but they're all injured. Clowney, injured knee. Chuba Hubbard, he's injured with rust. I love that. Then he's not injured, you morons. Steve Young, injured with the hamstring. Leggett, the receiver's injured with the hip. Thielen is injured also with the hamstring. But they're not out. If it was severe, they'd be out. I don't know why any of them are playing. They're eliminated, but good for them. Tampa, let's see. Winfield injured with the knee. He's critical to safety. Otten, the tight end's injured with the knee. Baker's fine. He's not on the list. Britt, the linebacker's injured. Evans injured with rust. I love that one. So nothing there injury-wise. So Tampa must win. They're at home in the rain. Carolina has been playing very good. We know they're not a Z team anymore. They've moved up to W and maybe even almost an over team. Let's look at the last 6 games. All right. This is what I like to do. As Young's gotten better, let's see what they've done. The last 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. They beat the Giants 2017. They put up 27 on the Chiefs, 23 on Tampa, 16 on Philly, 14 on Dallas, and 36 on Arizona in overtime. So 30. So they're scoring low 20s on average. They give up 17 to the Giants, 30 to KC, 26 to Tampa, 22 to Philly, 30 to Dallas, 30. Their defense is still a sieve. Their offense is scoring a little bit more, but even against the Giants in New Orleans, they put up 23 and 20, 27 on KC and 23 on Tampa, 16 on Philly. And then 30 last week on Arizona in regulation. So they're scoring a little bit more, but not great. But figure they'll get us 17 points and they're going to give up 30. If we look at Tampa, the last 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They lost to Frisco 23-20, 30 on the Giants, 26 on Carolina, 28 on Oakland, 40 on San Diego, and 24 against Dallas. So they did play at Carolina, won 26-23. So it was a 49. I expect a very similar score. Our total, that's why the total is 49. So, it's not going to be a blowout. Carolina can score. So just be careful with that game. New Orleans and Oakland. Oakland has won 37.5. Let's see if we can find out who the quarterback is on both teams. I guess it'll be O'Connell for Oakland. He's not listed out. Carr he's out. I guess Rattler. So I guess you're going to have the superstars of Rattler against O'Connell. I mean, this is the joke of the NFL. You've got, Murray against Stafford, and you got Nix against Burrow, and Herbert against. Well, you got Herbert, you got Mahomes and Russell Wilson, Lamar. And then you've got O'Connell and Rattler, 2 high school quarterbacks. I mean, so this is where you probably would take the game under. It's in good weather, but the problem is, and you can see the under's down to 37.5. But how are they going to score? Neither team has a quarterback. You can play pretty good offensively or defensively, but there's no way in hell they're getting the 38 points. So you got to play the quarterback sometimes when you're playing the totals. Like we got Rodgers against Allen. you probably will get points. And Buffalo scores a lot because you got Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get you some points probably with Devontae Adams, where O'Connell and Rattler, it's going to be pathetic. They'll try to run around. All right, Dallas, Philly. This game is Philly is not wrapped up the division. If they lose the 2 and Washington wins the 2 and Washington just beat them, Washington wins the division. Washington's got a ton to play for. But Philly they've clinched the playoff spot, but not the division. They are now 7-38 to a very live. God, this line went from 43 to 38, and I'm scratching my head because I love the over in the game, except who is the quarterback. So this has gone from 9.5, 10 down to 7. Philly 7-38. Dallas is an over team with the 27 defense, and Cooper Rush looks great. Philadelphia is an A team with the 19 defense. Hurts got the concussion last week. Let's see if we know. I don't think it's conclusive yet. First, the weather in Philly. It's going to be rainy, partly cloudy, 61, 62 degrees. So it's really warm this weekend. 13-mile-an-hour winds. I don't know that it's under because of the rain, because the rain doesn't really cause an under. The wind does, but not the rain. Well, what the fuck's going on here? So let's go to injuries. And let's go to Philly. So we have Pickett injured with ribs. Hurts injured with a finger. I thought it was a concussion. Is it a finger or a concussion? Because I don't think he's got to go through concussion protocol. Philly, Slay. Okay, these guys are just resting. So Pickett's ribs, but he's preparing to play with a rib protector, which why didn't he have it on last week and he wouldn't have hurt ribs? Let's see. Shaquem Barkley's resting. A.J. Brown, he's resting. So there are a lot of them. They're not injured. They're just resting. Dallas. CeeDee Lamb is out. That I know. He's been ruled out with the shoulder. So be careful there. Now, there's other receivers, but you would want CeeDee Lamb. So you're kind of going, and what do I do with this game? Philly absolutely has to win it. Dallas is out. So Dallas can't do anything, but they've been playing good with Cooper Rush, as I told you they would. I mean, I'm not even if Hurts plays, I don't know how comfortable I am with Philly -1 in the game. I like the over, but I don't have CeeDee Lamb. If I have Hurts, I must go over 32. How bad's the rain going to be unless cats and dogs start flying down there? I think 32 is an over. Philly's got a great defense, but the way Dallas has been playing with Rush, they've been scoring 25 points a game against good teams. So they just beat Tampa. They just lost to Cincy 27-20, but they held Cincy to 27 is a good thing. So I'm not really sure what to do with this game. Philly does need it. With Hurts and without CeeDee Lamb, maybe you take Philly -1. I haven't made that decision yet. I haven't played this game because I've been waiting for Hurts. My first initial impression was to go over at 43, which I thought was low. You are getting rain, and it's down to 38. And then it just becomes, all right, 32. And then, with these guys, that's hard for me to believe. That's 20-14 as a winner. I can't believe you're not going to get that. So I think if Hurts plays, it's an over. Even though you don't have CeeDee Lamb, they do have other receivers, Dallas, right? And Cooper Rush is playing well. So that's kind of how I look at it. If Hurts plays and you don't have CeeDee Lamb, I think Philly wins. They have to win, and they're at home. And I don't think the rain it'll help the defense. So it'll be hand the ball to Barkley 62 times, and then Philly will play an Army-Navy game, and Dallas is going to throw and against this real tough defense. So we'll see. We don't give a shit. Indy, well, I guess Indy's still mathematically alive. They haven't been eliminated. 7.5, 40.5 to the Giants. We got Richardson, who's got back issues, is questionable, and I guess it's going to be for the Giants. Locke. I didn't mind him at Missouri. I thought he was okay. He started as a freshman, so he's not that bad. But what do you do with Indy? Richardson, 8 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, probably not a good quarterback. Play against Indy is 15-0 this year. Indy is 13-2, so they play a lot of close games. Play against the Giants as a home dog, 8-0. So there's trends on both teams all over the place here. I don't know. I guess I prefer Richardson not to play, and I get Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco will win the game. He's been in Super Bowls and playoffs, and he beat Denver on that one play. So I'm okay with Flacco, much better than I am with Richardson. It's like Carolina. I'm much better with Dalton than I am with Steve Young. So we'll see. But so mathematically, Indy's not out of it. But they need all these other teams to lose to have a chance. So it's really screwy how they don't say they're still in it. They just say, oh, well, it's Denver and San Diego winning, they're in. But you're not saying, well, if they lose and Indy wins next week and they lose next week, then Indy gets in. They do have a way in, but it's just not very likely. Miami, Cleveland, the same thing. Miami is not officially eliminated. They're 6.5, 39.5 to a terrible Cleveland team. So it's Tua against Thompson. Robinson's injured. I think they want to go with him. I'm not sure if he can play well, or Winston. God knows what he's doing in the league. At what point do you see Winston and think, oh, he's good? He's He's like Dak. He throws 2 picks a game. So Miami, it's going to be cold at Cleveland. Well, let's see the weather. Just for the hell of it. Rain and cloudy and 54. A lot of these games this week are rain. We know Tyreek Hill's got the hurt wrist. They haven't been scoring. It's probably an under game, 39.5, 40. Myles Garrett, that's about all they got. Chubb's out again. No quarterback. So I don't know. Both these teams suck. Game of the week. Now, Minnesota. Now, this game's been going all over the place. Green Bay was a 1.5-point favorite yesterday, and I almost took Minnesota as the dog. And now Minnie's back to 1, 48.5. What the hell's going on with the analytics people here? So we got Minnie 1 and 48.5. That number hasn't moved. Both are A teams. Minnesota needs the game to stay with the Lions. Beat the Lions next week. They win the division. They win the 1 seed. If they beat Green Bay. Green Bay's kind of out of it. They can't catch anybody. Maybe they can catch Minnesota for the it'll be the 5 seed. So they're either the 5 or 6. And then Washington, probably the 7 seed, unless they win out and Philly loses out, and then it becomes Philly the 7 seed. But we'll see. So this is a big game. Minnie won the first one, 31-28, as Love was just recovering from his hip injury. He threw 4 picks in the game and then came on at the end. So this is it's hard because both teams have clinched the wild card. So it's more must win for Minnesota to catch Detroit and get the 1 seed. They're motivated. Green Bay, I don't know the motivation here because you basically are in the playoffs. You've clinched. You can't catch Detroit. You can't catch the 1 seed or the division. So I'm not really sure. They will play, but I'm not really sure what they're playing for. There's no weather. It's indoors in Minnesota. Another game of the week, Washington, Atlanta. Now this turns into Daniels against Penix, a beautiful game. Penix a little bit too new, but he looked very sharp last week. stayed in the pocket, didn't run like Caleb, read his guys, hit guys right on the chest so they could keep running. This should have been the first quarterback taken. Oh, you got Caleb. Well, oops, you fucked up again, Chicago. So Washington 447.5. I only see one way to play this game. Atlanta's an even team, 23 defense. They're probably going to score more. Washington's an over team, a 23 defense. They played 5 turnovers to Philly, and it was 30. What was the score? 31. It was 36-33 with 5 turnovers. Washington will score early and often, and Atlanta will match them with Penix. I don't see a lot of defense here. We'll see, but both teams must win the game. Washington has not clinched the playoff seed, and they can still catch Philly, and Atlanta's in a tie with Carolina. Now, had they not fucked up and played Cousins so long, Atlanta would have a 3-game lead over Tampa if they would have played Penix, say, like week 10. So live and learn, but Penix looks like the real deal. Definitely the best quarterback in the draft. Better than Daniels, and you'll see. So this is the Sunday night game. Yes, let's check the weather. Rain. So the whole Philadelphia, Cleveland, all this area, rain, 58 degrees. So it is going to be warm, 12.5 mile an hour winds. Shouldn't affect anything. Again, you're in a stadium, so the wind can't go through the stadium. So it ends up, unless you throw a real high pass, it's not really going to be a problem. Maybe on the kicks, but really shouldn't be too much of a problem. Let's check injuries quickly. Atlanta, a bunch of injured guys. Drake London, injured knee, probably the biggest name we've got on there. Washington, Mariota, I didn't know he was still in the league. Zach Ertz, now he's just resting. They have nobody out either. McLaurin, injured ankle. I'm sure he'll play. I thought their running back was injured. Anyway, so really nobody injured. Really, you've got rain, which in these guys, it's not going to matter. Actually, I think it's better for the offense. They know where they're going. They can make the cut. The defender's got to react, and he falls down. And you get that. And then our last game, Detroit and Frisco. Detroit 3.5, 50.5, must win. No matter what Minnesota does, even if they lose, Detroit has to win. They'll clinch up the 1 seed, and they'll clinch up that. If Minnesota wins, they still have to win to keep pace with Minnesota, and then they play Minnie next week for the 1 seed and the division if Minnesota beats Green Bay. This is a revenge game for Detroit from the championship game. Frisco, as we know, the whole fucking team is out. Partly cloudy and 50 degrees. This is Monday night. Injuries. Well, we know Detroit's got 1,000 injuries, but it's all to the defense. A lot of guys are playing. Montgomery, he's out with a knee. Terrion Arnold would be better if he didn't play. He sucks. That's about it. The Niners, Greenlaw, injured calf. Well, we know everybody's out for the Niners. McCaffrey and Ayuk, and it doesn't say Boza here, although Greenlaw is injured with the calf. So Boza will, I guess, play, but what did he play last week? Defensively, Boza did play. So it'll be amazing if Boza plays 2 weeks in a row. He hasn't done that since Ohio State. All right, so that's your games. So Detroit has to win. Atlanta, Washington's a playoff game. Philly has to win. Miami has to win, but don't know where it's going. Buffalo does not have to win. Green Bay, Minnesota. Minnesota really needs the game more than Green Bay. Indy has to win and pray. Tampa Bay and going with Atlanta. Tampa has to win. The Rams have to win. Arizona's out. Cincy has a little chance to make it, but has to win. Denver has to win. San Diego has to win. So Kansas City cleaned up Buffalo. Buffalo can't get the 1 seed. Does Josh Allen play the whole game? That'll be up for, we'll see. And that is the NFL. Teaser odds. Detroit 11-1 is a road favorite. 12-3 this year. Washington 13-2 in a teaser. Atlanta, you can't use their trends because this is second game of Penix. Here's where all of these statistics and trends you can't use because they didn't have Penix before. They had Cousins. So you can't look at those trends. Now we start Penix trends, and they beat somebody last week 34-7. So all of a sudden, here comes Penix, and look out. And so your trends really start last week with Penix. Dallas is 6-0 as a road dog, but again, that's a lot with Dak. But even if they would win with Dak, we saw what they did to Carolina. They killed Carolina. That was our lock. That was the easiest lock I ever had. Dallas +3 against Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Play against Philly is a home favorite, 11-2. So there's a lot of Dallas trend here with Rush. You don't have CeeDee Lamb, which is going to hurt, but do you have Hurts? And this 38 total, oh my God, that's crazy. Let's go. Green Bay, Minnesota. Minnesota, as we know, 29-3 in a teaser the last 2 years, 14-1 this year, which means they were 15-2 last year. They're 5-0 as a home favorite. Green Bay, 29-5 in a teaser, 11-0 as a road dog, and 14-1 in a teaser this year. This game's going to be a 3-point game, right? That much is given. Just play a teaser in this game. Play against Indies, 15-0 this year. Tampa Bay, 29-5 in a teaser the last 2 years, 13-2 this year. Play against Tennessee, 13-2 in a teaser, 26-6 overall. Play against Jacksonville this year, 13-2. The Rams, 27-6 the last 2 years in a teaser. Denver, 26-6, 14-1 with Bo Nix. 5-1 as a road dog. Cincinnati's not very good in the teaser. And San Diego, 26-6, 13-2, first year with Harbaugh. 5-0 as a road favorite. Play against New England, 9-2 as a home dog the last 2 years, 5-1 this year. So you've got San Diego, 5-0 as a road favorite. Bet against New England, 5-1 as a home dog. And San Diego, 13-2 in a teaser. And that's it. So we've already, let's see. KC was 29-7 in a teaser. Baltimore and Houston were both 27-7, but Baltimore is 11-2 as a road favorite, 6-1 this year. Now they're 12-2 and 7-1. Houston gets blown out. I love that 31-2. How do you get 2? They're all excited. They got a safety. Yeah, look at the score. You're down 25 points. All right, today we're just going to look at a little bit of college. Let's see what has changed to do. We must have had a game go off already. I guess Oklahoma and Navy. Georgia Tech 349 to my Vanderbilt team. Have played that game. Texas Tech, Arkansas. Texas Tech's 2.5, 52.5. Now this is a tricky one because their quarterback's out, Morton. So Arkansas went favorite, and then a lot of their players are in the transfer portal not playing. This is a 52, 51.5. So the total hasn't changed, but now the money's on Texas Tech with a backup quarterback who hasn't done anything this year. Tech with the 34 defense, that doesn't go away, and Arkansas with the 25. I would say this is over because it's Texas Tech, and with the other quarterback injured, Morton had surgery that I would imagine the backup's been. First of all, he's got to be good to be the backup at Texas Tech because the backup who was there is Louisville's quarterback, who's damn good. So I'm sure this kid's good. Arkansas, their quarterback sucks. And then their defense sucks. So hard to say here. Hard to bet on a backup quarterback. Syracuse, Washington State. Syracuse is up to 18, 59.5. This just keeps going up and up and up. It started at 7.5. And this is a tricky game. The whole Washington State coaching staff's gone. The head coach, offense coordinator, defensive coordinator. They all moved on to wherever the hell they're coaching next year. The quarterback transferred. The receivers are gone. Washington State, at least 15 of their players are gone. So you have nobody against Syracuse, who, as Bobby pointed out, the coach said, nobody's opting out of this game. So Syracuse is sending a message, and that's why you see this spread go from 7.5 to 12 to 14 to 16 to 18. So it's a big number. I would imagine Syracuse is going to blow them out. They blew out UNLV. Well, they beat UNLV like 44-40 at UNLV, and UNLV has a very good team and a very good defense. So with that said, Syracuse will put up in the 40s. And what's Washington State going to do? They don't have coaches. They don't have quarterback. I mean, what are they going to do? And our last game today is A&M 3.5, 53.5 to USC. Maivia will be the quarterback, the USC guy, who should have been the starter the whole year. He went with Miller Moss because he had a good Rose Bowl against the nobody. And, he looked good a little bit, and then they kept losing. And so I see A&M. I mean, they don't have much of an offense. So we'll see with USC, but they got their quarterback playing. A lot of their guys have transferred or are on other teams now, but I think with Maivia, I think they'll be competitive here. Let's quickly look at tomorrow's games, and then we'll get to the playoffs. We got North Carolina 2.5, 53. That really hasn't changed against UConn. A lot of Carolina. Belichick's not coaching, and neither's Mac Brown. So it's going to be some offensive coordinator or something. Good luck with that. Nebraska 4, 46.5. And we'll talk more about these games tomorrow. TCU, Lou Lafayette. This is a good game. TCU 10.5 and 59 to Lou Lafayette. Lou Lafayette's starting quarterback was injured. I think he's going to play because I looked at the injuries and he's probable. And TCU, Hoover, as far as I know, is going to play. So we know TCU, they run the score. So probably an over. But it's based on Lou Lafayette. If their quarterback plays, I think it's Woodside or Woolridge or something. They are a very good team and a very explosive team. But if he doesn't play and the backup plays, then it's all TCU. But it looks like he's going to play. Miami, 4.5, 57. It looks like Cam Ward will play. And I love it if Cam Ward plays. The spread to move up. He said he's playing, but you never know. He could, I'm getting ready for the pros, which means I don't want to get injured. But I would think you're gonna. It looks like he's gonna play, and then look out. This will be a lock tomorrow if he plays, and that's why I might not lock it because I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming he will play based on the line. So we never get the information right away, but we know if he's not playing, the line would go to even. So it went up to 4.5. Miami of Ohio, 2.5, 40.5 to Colorado State. MAC against Mountain West. East Carolina, NC State. NC State 758. I do like the East Car quarterback Hauser from Total Recall. He started to lighten it up at the end of the year, like McCowan at UTSA. I gotta check, but NC State they got some guys out on the bowl, so it might be an East Carolina play. Colorado, BYU, I have no idea. Colorado is 3.5, 54.5. Is Prime going to play? Is Prime going to let his kid play? And then Hunter, is he going to play? And this is the problem. Right now, we have no idea. And Prime's going, oh, all my players are playing. Yeah, he always tells the truth. BYU, I haven't seen a lot of their guys not playing. BYU, very strong team. Now, if Prime and Hunter play, Prime Jr., this is a very good game. This is a very good BYU team. So I'm not quite sure that Colorado is going to blow them out. I don't see that. So Colorado, we like 3.5. Yeah, this is a tough one because I don't trust Prime and Prime Jr. and Hunter to play. I could easily see them or play the first quarter. Oh, he's got to get ready for the draft, so he can't play. And let's see, our last game of the day tomorrow, Army 14.5, 43.5. This was 16.5. We'll have to see what the fuck's going on here. And 44. Do we have anything? Is there an injury? Could be a weather. LTech, nothing. Nothing on Army. Is it weather? Clear and 60. I don't know why the line. I don't know how anybody in their right mind would take LTech. All right, now let's get to the playoff games. So I had a conversation with Alex last night, and he thinks there's a talent gap, and Penn State and Texas will kill Boise and Arizona. So he's being counter because I said I'm looking at the money line on Boise State and Arizona. So the argument is, well, the Penn State's got better players than Boise, better talent grab, and same thing with Texas, Arizona State. Now, Boise's got a top 5 running back in Gentry, so I'm not quite sure where he's getting that from. They played Oregon 37-34, and they beat Vegas twice. And Penn State's best win was against whom? Oh, they beat Minnesota 26-25 at Mini. They beat USC 33-30. They lost to Ohio State. They didn't play Michigan. I don't know that Penn State's any good because they haven't beaten anybody except for last week when they beat kind of a weak SMU quarterback who's more of a running quarterback. Well, you're going to face Gentry, and you're not going to be able to tackle him. So I watched the Oregon game. He broke 20 tackles, right? He'd run power, sweep to the right. The guy would hit him, and he'd just blow right through him, and they couldn't tackle him. This is Oregon, all right? Now, the only game that Penn State played against a good team, they lost to Ohio State, and then Oregon lit them up. So their defense really isn't as good as you think because this was the only real solid. So we had USC put up 30 on them. Minnesota put up 25 on them. Were the only real 2 offensive teams they played. West Virginia in the first week. They beat a bunch of nobodies. And then, SMU. So the problem is everybody's looking at SMU. They're looking at the last game. And as I say, this is not at Penn State, and this is not playing SMU. This is in the Fiesta Bowl against Boise with the best running back in the country. Now, there's a reason nobody can tackle him and he's got over 2,000 yards because you can't. I don't care what you say. Penn State ain't going to do it. And then I watched them put up 37 on Oregon or 34. Oregon couldn't stop them. So you think Penn State's defense is so much better than Oregon's? Oregon's got a 17 defense. Penn State's got a 17 defense. It's the same. Now, when they played each other, yeah, it was 45-37 Oregon, who Penn State couldn't stop. Boise's got a very good quarterback, very good receiver, and Gentry. So Penn State is not stopping this team. The 10.5, okay, and then you got 52.5. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Boise won. They are a big play, big game team. They showed up against Oregon. Penn State didn't. And that was for the conference championship, Penn State, and they didn't show up for Oregon. Did whatever they wanted, drove the ball down, and I don't see them doing anything because Boise has a good quarterback and can throw the ball. So 10.5, 53, 52.5 with Boise. I honestly don't think Penn State will win the game. Maybe they will. I don't think so. Texas, 13.5, 52 to Arizona State. Same thing. Who has Texas beaten? They played Georgia twice and lost. They didn't play Alabama. They played Oklahoma with the tough Oklahoma team, 31 to, they beat them 36-3 or something. But Oklahoma sucked. They didn't play anybody, right? If I go into their schedule, this would be the last 10. They beat Old Mississippi State, who stinks. They beat Oklahoma 34-3. They played Georgia, lost 30-15. Played my Vanderbilt team 27-24. Played a very injured Florida team 49-17, which doesn't count. Both quarterbacks were out and half the defense was injured. They beat Arkansas 20-10. They beat Kentucky with no offense 31-14. And they beat A&M 17-7. Who did they beat? The best team they beat here, I would say, is probably going to be Vanderbilt, 27-24. Vanderbilt's much better than Clemson. I don't give them credit for beating Clemson. Again, now that was a home game, 38-24. This is not a home game. Now we go to Arizona State. So you think they have no talent. You think Texas's talent's much better. Arizona State's got the second running back in the draft, Scatterboo. This guy's going to be all pro. And they have a good quarterback, Lovett. And they score, and they play good defense. So who has Arizona State beat? Well, they beat Kansas 35-31. Here's the big one. They beat Utah 27-19. Now, we know they didn't have their quarterback, but they still have a strong defense, Utah. They put up 27. They lose to Cincinnati 24-14. Then they beat Oak State 42-21. Not a good defense. UCF 35-31. Not a good defense. Kansas State, we know, has a good defense, 24-14. BYU, we know, has a top 10 defense, 28-23. And then Arizona was a revenge game. And then they beat Iowa State, who has a good defense, 45-19. I'll give you 5 good games. Iowa State, Kansas State, BYU, Utah, and Kansas they beat. So they didn't beat anybody. They played a much harder schedule than Texas. The only game that Texas really won was A&M 17-7. They played one good game. If you notice, there was no Ole Miss, there was no Tennessee, no Alabama on their schedule. A&M, a terrible Oklahoma team, Georgia twice, and they lost both games. So again, I'm not getting the issue here. Texas out. DB, a running back, another running back. They got 3 running backs out and a DB. In Arizona State, a DB and a wide receiver out and a running back, but not Scatterboo. Let's look at the weather. Now, this game, it's noon and 50 degrees and a little bit of wind. And this game is forget that. This game's in Atlanta, so there won't be any issue. Boise's in Arizona. All right. So then we've got We got Ohio State, Oregon, and please help me why Ohio State's favorite. I have no idea. 2.5, 55. You've got to be kidding. Who has Ohio State beaten? Nobody. They played Oregon once and lost. They beat an average Penn State team, 20-13. And oh yeah, they lost to Michigan, who sucks. They have not. They beat Iowa, Michigan State. They haven't really beat anybody. The best team they played was Penn State, 20-13. They went to Oregon and lost. Now they go to the Rose Bowl and get Oregon. And all of a sudden they're going to kill Oregon. Wow. Oregon went and it destroyed Penn State. They beat Ohio State. You know, for their part, and they beat Boise, which is a very good win now, especially after Boise beats. Once Boise beats Penn State, it's going to be even a better win. So Oregon, and they score Ohio State. They already put up 30. They win 32-31 or something like that. Oh, wait, the game was in the response was, well, the game was at home. Oh, how about the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis? They put up 45 on Penn State. That game wasn't at home. I don't know why Indiana wasn't in it, but okay. So Penn State, what have they done? They lost to Ohio State, lost to Oregon. The only two good teams they played, and they barely beat Minnesota, and they barely beat USC. So, look at the whole schedule. You can't look at, here's the problem. People look at last week, and they see Texas win. They see Penn State blowing out, what was it, SMU? Penn State blowing out SMU, and Ohio State blowing out Tennessee. And this is the last thought in their mind is what they did. And then everybody thinks, well, that's what they're going to do. Look what they did last week. Well, they were both at home playing weak teams. SMU should never have been in a playoff, and I'm not sure Tennessee belonged over. They did beat Alabama, so they did belong. But if the game was on a neutral site or if the game was in Tennessee, Tennessee would have won it at Tennessee. So Ohio State's at home, totally unfair. A home playoff game? Are you kidding me? This isn't the NFL. These teams are not, none of the visitors had it been switched and Notre Dame played at Indiana, they're not winning. There's no Ohio State would have won at Tennessee. I mean, that's the difference, right? So are you looking at that game and then carrying it out? Well, they're not at home and they're not playing. Ohio State's not playing Tennessee. They're not at home. Now they're in the Rose Bowl against the number one team, Oregon, who lights it up. Okay, they didn't light up Wisconsin. I don't know what happened in that game, but they lit up Penn State, who's much better than Wisconsin. So this is the point of it. So with that said, how is Oregon a dog? Are you fucking kidding me? And then our last game, we got Georgia, 1.5 and 44 to Notre Dame. Now Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. We'll never forget that one, and I called it. We've got, who'd they beat? The best team they beat was Louisville with Tyler Shaw, the Texas Tech quarterback. And they beat whom? Army, Navy? No. USC put up 35 on them with Maivia. They beat them 49-35, but wait a minute. I thought Notre Dame had this great defense. The two teams with the good quarterback, they gave up. They won 31-24 over Louisville, and they had to wear green jerseys to do it. What color jerseys are they going to come out with against Georgia? Black or red, or what are they going to wear? I was cute. Houston came out in their jerseys. Yeah, maybe it's not the jersey because Baltimore destroyed them. But it's cute. Well, we'll wear our black because unfortunately, it's not the jersey that wins for you. So Notre Dame can pull off the green jersey shit with Joe Montana, and again they're not going to pull it off. I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia wore black in this game. Georgia played Texas twice. They did lose to Alabama, who's a good throwing team. Notre Dame's not a good throwing team. Riley Leonard's not a good throwing quarterback. He's a good running quarterback. Georgia will blitz, and we know how good Georgia is blitzing and their defense. Notre Dame, it's hard to run on. You can obviously pass on them. Now, the key is the quarterback. Carson Beck just had surgery. He's out. You got the backup. I watched the second half against Texas, and he was okay. He's not great, but he's okay. And that was his first game. And he did have that big run, and he took the hit in the head where I can't believe they didn't throw the guy out for hitting him in the head, and they didn't even throw a penalty because it wasn't the crown of the helmet. You hit him in the head. It doesn't matter the crown. That's the penalty, is you can't hit the guy in the head. So they hit him in the head. He cracks his helmet, but he's fine. He stays in there. Etanine's back for Georgia. So they needed the running attack. It's been all throwing. And the same killer defense is starting to will show up in this game. Notre Dame will not be able to run the ball and will have a hard time they'll have a hard time moving in this game. Georgia will have a hard time because of the backup quarterback, but they'll have plays. It's different because he knows he's the quarterback, right? Last time he came in the second half. This time he knows he's the starter. So he's been practicing for this whole 2-3 weeks. And he did beat Texas with this great defense of Texas, apparently, although I don't know where it is. This should be a very close game, I would think. I would think this will be low scoring because Notre Dame likes to run. Both teams have good defenses. This is a Notre Dame 13 defense. Oops, except for when they played USC, they gave up 35. Last week, it doesn't count. They played Indiana, and, it was really 27-3. All right, Indiana scored late, 27-10. Then they get the onside kick, and that made us a winner because we had Indy as the points, but pretty pathetic. So we will go from there. You can't look at the Notre Dame Indy game, Notre Dame at home. I mean, the whole thing you can't look at. So I'll have to think about my scores, but I see Boise winning. I see Arizona State, Texas going down to the wire. Oregon beating Ohio State, and Notre Dame, Georgia. I see Georgia winning a close one because of, Riley Leonard is not a good quarterback. He's a good runner, and because of the backup quarterback for Georgia, now he's a 5-star. He's excellent. Now Dylan Raiola, who transferred to Nebraska, was the backup, has got to be scratching his head going, you mean I could be playing now? I went to Nebraska where we went 5-11 or whatever they did. So he made a big mistake. That's what Fields was the backup at Georgia also. These guys run to Ohio State. If he would have just stayed at Georgia and learned how to play quarterback, he wouldn't have sucked in the NFL because he went to Ohio State. It was all gimmick. That's why these guys don't do good in the pros. C.J. Stroud looks the same as Fields. He's lost, can't read a blitz, wants to scramble all over. Doesn't work. Especially when you see Joe Burrow calmly going, there's a blitz. Okay, I'm going to hit Chase. Yeah, that's the difference. That's what we're looking for. So that's the last game. I see Georgia winning a close one, probably lower scoring. So that's what happens. I see Georgia and Oregon in the finals. Boise can pull the upset, but they can't beat Oregon and they can't beat Georgia, and neither can Arizona State. And by the way, neither can Texas. Texas has already lost to Georgia twice. Enough said there, and they can't handle Oregon. Oregon's got this beautiful offense that not only is Gabriel good at kind of moving around and finding the open spot, but these receivers are always wide open. I mean, if you watch him, he'll kind of scramble around and he throws the guy open by 10 yards, running 30 yards into the secondary. I mean, nobody covers these Oregon receivers. And Gabriel's so good at disguising it that maybe I'm running and maybe I'm not, that these guys just just are wide open all day. I've never seen anything like it. And that's what Bo Nix is doing. If you notice, he's at the goal line. He's running Oregon plays where all of a sudden nobody's open on any other team but on Denver with the Oregon offense. All of a sudden the wide receiver runs a little out. He's wide open for a touchdown at the corner. So they're running the Oregon offense, and that's why Bo Nix looks pretty good. So hell of a game tomorrow, Sunday, Washington and Atlanta. Penix against Daniels, and Penix is going to show you why he's the best quarterback. Why they didn't play him earlier, they should all be fired for. What an easy thing. And then I hate all the announcers going, well, why did you sign Cousins and then draft Penix? Well, you drafted Penix because you never thought the best quarterback in the draft would go to 8th. But when he did go to 8, how could you not draft him? That's like San Diego missing out on Brock Bowers. Like, you're out of your fucking mind. And the lineman they got out of Notre Dame hasn't played. He got hurt. He's out. Meanwhile, Brock Bowers is on Oakland. He's the rookie of the year. Well, maybe Daniels or maybe Bo Nix. And only because Penix didn't play enough for him to be the rookie of the year. All right. A little bit of gold talk. Any questions, comments on football, let me know. I think I pretty much covered it now. Just because the Rams need to win or certain teams need to win doesn't mean they will. And that's what we find all the time. Pittsburgh had to win. They didn't show up. Baltimore did. So some of the games they need to win doesn't mean they're going to win it. So you don't just bet it because they need to win it. But, you know, I think the Rams might win, but Arizona lit them up last time, so I'm not sure that it's a good matchup for the Rams. I think you played a different way. And the same thing, Atlanta-Washington, I think will be a very good game. I'm not sure that the rain is a big hindrance. I don't know if it rained yesterday in Chicago. That was just bad play. I don't think the rain has anything to do if it did rain there. So not sure the rain is a factor because good teams, they know where they're going and the defense doesn't, and the defense falls down, they get touchdowns. So I'm not sure it's a hindrance for an over. I think it's more the wind is because I can't throw you the ball. But if it's raining and I can throw you the ball, then it's an offensive thing. All right, who's texting me? Yeah, see me soon. So I got a haircut tomorrow at 12:30 or whatever. All right, so we've talked about gold. Let's look at a few Egon things. All right, just a little bit on Egon. We know all the stories. I've taught you all this. It's pure economics, which is purely if there's low supply and high demand, the price goes up. We all know this. We know COMEX is keeping the price down because they don't want you in gold. And that's where I'm going right after this is to see if he has a quarter ounce of gold and or otherwise I'll get a few ounces of silver. I'll complete my 2-ounce Canadian. I need to buy 2 of those, but I'm not really looking to buying a lot of silver because that we have a little bit of time for that. But I want to get into gold because I don't know how much time we have. And I don't know how it happens. I mean, all of a sudden the shit's going to hit the fan, and I don't know. I think it's a lot of these other countries going bankrupt: Germany, France, Italy, the UK, Japan, China, Russia. They're all going broke. They're going to need to bring out their gold. And all the BRICS central banks have gold, so I can see a very easy transition to a gold-backed BRICS currency, which blows away the U.S. Why would you want to hold it? So as the debt keeps mounting, the gold keeps going, should be going up. We know it's worth a lot more than the paper derivative market's telling us. And so it's a no-brainer to keep buying it. And the biggest reason is, so think about assets. This is an asset and this is an asset. This is only 50 count. This there's 150 billion, a trillion of. Do you want to hold this, something that's going down in value, or have this, something going up in value? Now, maybe that'll help you. So a lot of people, what are they in? Their 401ks because they're making money at it. What they don't realize is the money they're making is worthless. That's the problem. So you're making nothing here. This is all worthless. Therefore, what are you going to do with it? Right? So you don't really want to be in this because this is worthless. But everybody in their 401k, the problem is people don't know. They don't understand finance and economics is not taught, not Austrian economics. And so people learn Keynesian economics, which says, oh, you can keep printing money and it won't hurt the value. Or we're the U.S., nothing can ever happen to us. Just like the Romans, nothing happened to them. Oh, wait, it did. And so people don't know. And what do? They call their financial advisor, financial planner, stockbroker. What should I do? And what do you think they tell them? Oh, you want to be in Amazon and Microsoft. That's to look at their going up because from their point of view, I want commissions. I want to make money. I want commissions. I will never tell you to go into gold. It's not on my menu. So therefore, you're not getting into gold. But your problem is you don't know. And unless you run into me, you're not going to know. Or one of our class, you're not going to know to get out of dollars and get into gold. You don't think gold moves. Well, look, it's 2,600. It's having a good day today. We'll look at that at the end. And so you don't really know. And so therefore, you just got to be careful with it. And so that's really what you're looking at is you don't know about gold, but you're used to asking people, and the people you ask, it's not on their menu. They'll never put you in gold because there's no commission on it. And as we know on Attack on Wall Street, the reason they put them in the real estate trust was the commissions. We only want your commissions. And so you're going to the wrong people that don't care about you. They only want to use you and get your commissions, which is what all Wall Street is, which is what Madoff is. Why did Madoff work? Well, when I watched Madoff on Netflix or on Tubi, what was said was, well, my father was in Madoff, so I got into Madoff. He's a Wall Street guy, so I trusted my father or my friends or my family who were in it kept getting paid, even though nobody knew what it was. I'm sure they knew it was a Ponzi scheme because they kept getting 15% every month. But other people would trust people. So if there's a guy, if Luke's friends got his money in a 401k, or my friend got his money in his 401k, and I would ask him, and he'd say, oh, just put it in the 401k. Then I'd put it in the 401k, not knowing it's a death trap, but knowing, well, I trust Luke's friend or this other guy, so I'll do it. But it's wrong. You meet a guy like me, and I say, no, you don't want to be in dollars. They're printing. If the problem with this is it's not backed by anything. There's no gold backing it, and they keep printing it. And as you print it, it loses value. Just like if you keep eating chocolate cake, you're going to get fat and sick. So if you keep printing this, it goes down in value. And it's almost out. And when it goes down, when nobody wants it, it goes to zero. But who knows that? Us. Otherwise, most people don't know it, don't think the dollar will go out. They're not educated in it because it's not taught anywhere. If you go to your financial planner or stockbroker, he's not going to tell you. He's not going to say, yeah, the dollar's going out. You want to get into gold. Only I don't get commission on it, so I'm not going to tell you that because he doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't care if you go broke or not. All he wants is his commission. And the kicker is he's going to go broke because he's still in dollars. So he's getting his commission, and unless he's selling it into gold like I do, when I get my paycheck, it goes into gold, anything left over after my bills. So he's got to understand that. And so that's the biggest problem. Uh, who do you go to find out the truth? And most people don't know, and they go to their financial advisor, stockbroker, and he says, stay in stock. You don't want to be in gold. And that's why nobody is in it, because nobody knows about it. Nobody runs into somebody like me who tells them, get the fuck out of dollars, get off the Titanic, and your only hope is gold. But I'm not in it for the commission. I'm in it to help you so you don't all fucking die from starvation because you're in dollars. There is no incentive to me. I don't get nobody gives me a commission or anybody's paying me to tell you to go into gold for those reasons. Nothing, just because I don't want to see people get hurt. That's it. So this is the problem. You don't know, and you're going to listen to your financial planner, and he'll never tell you to get into gold because he doesn't get a commission. It's not on the menu. 401ks, put it into Microsoft and Amazon and Apple and just sit it, and the company's going to match, and just keep it there. That's your retirement money. It won't be worth anything because the money's collapsing. The money will be worthless. My stocks will be worth, they're going to all go down because people are going to need the money, are going to dump their stocks, especially when 32 trillion of it is outside the US. So once they realize, oh shit, I'm in US dollars, I got to get the fuck out. It's a little harder for us because this is what we deal with. But if I'm a guy from Germany or the UK or China or Japan, I don't want to be in dollar. They're all going to go down. I can see that. So I'm going to get it out and bring it back home and then go buy gold with it. And that's what most of the foreigners will do. But the US people are way too stupid to do that. And they're going to think, oh, I got 4 million in my IRA. 4 million monopoly money is still zero. It's like 4 million times zero is still zero. Oh, the US can't go out. Look at who's running our place. We got Boog Powell and Yellen, and we've got Biden, and yeah, we trust them because we know they're all intelligent people. Oh my God. And that's really the problem with it. So most people will go to their resources, but the resources won't tell them the truth or don't know, and will never tell them to go into gold. And that's why everybody is going to get fucked. So unless you run into me or one of you who can explain it, you're fucked because you'll never buy gold because you don't know that's the answer to the riddle. How do I survive the hyperinflation and what's going on in the US? And the answer is gold. Gold and silver, you survive. Anything else, you're fucked. Housing does not help you. Stocks does not help you. Bitcoin does not help you. You're fucked unless you're in gold and silver. And it can't be paper. It's got to be physical. It must be physical gold and silver. It's got to be. I'm going to the coin store to buy physical. Hopefully he's got a quarter ounce for me or a couple of tenth of an ounces. Otherwise, I'll be buying silver, physical coins that I can throw in my safe and be protected. Nobody can say they're worthless. Nobody can take them from me. The government will not take them from you because they don't think that anybody has them. They're looking for money. They're looking for Bitcoin. That's what the government's that's what they're looking for, to tax the Bitcoin, not the gold, because most of the gold, to tell you the truth, outside of the US, China, 60,000 tons, Russia, 20,000, India, 30,000, mostly in jewelry, Saudi Arabia, another 10, 15,000. So how are you going to tax that? The U.S. can't really touch that. They can't go to Russia and say, yeah, I'm taxing you on the gold, or China. Good luck with that. So they don't think the U.S. people have any gold. So there's no reason to take it from us. And if they do, I'd be on the first plane to Switzerland and going to Egon's vault and saying, here, I know I don't have $20 million worth, Egon, but put it in your vault. So just be smart. Listen, be open. Does it make sense? What are your questions or comments on it? But if you go to other people, so if you then, now I'm going to call my financial advisor and see if he agrees with you. He's not going to. I went to my bank I took money out for gold, and the guy wants to put me in an annuity. I'll give you 9% in an annuity. And I said to him, but I'd still be in paper. I don't want to be in paper. It's worthless. I want to be in gold. You can't print. You can't inflate. That's why it's been around for 6,000 years, because you can't, all you can do is get what comes out of the ground. You cannot inflate it. You can't print it or counterfeit it like you can money. So therefore, there's absolutely no reason that they're going to tell you to go into gold, or they're going to agree with me because they want their commission. So you've got to realize that up front. If I call my broker, my advisor, and I say I want to buy gold, he's not going to put you in it. So you've got to be strong on your own. You've got to understand what I'm telling you. You can't print gold, and the dollar is 160 trillion printed, is worthless. And if you don't understand that, you're going to understand the $36 trillion in debt. I'm sure you understand that. How are you going to pay the 36 trillion off? You can't. You're going to pay $1 trillion every quarter in interest, and you got Social Security and welfare and government employees and government pensions that you come out with out of thin air. Where are you going to get that money? Oh, we'll just print it. So more printing, more devaluation. It's already worth 99% gone, and in my mind, it's 100% gone. So you can either hold something that's worthless, or you can trade it for something that is way undervalued. It can't be fucked. It can't go to zero. It's never gone to zero. It can't, because they can't print it to zero. You can't print gold, especially coins. You don't want to be in ETFs or stocks. So you go buy gold coins, and believe me, they're getting harder to find and at this price. So be careful with that. So that is the bottom line. Let's take a look at Egon.
Western central bank gold is lent to the market. The bullion banks then ship it via Switzerland, because it's broken down into smaller kilobars, goes to China, goes to India, and the central banks, all they have now, the Western central banks, is an IOU from a bullion bank that hopefully one day they'll get the gold back. But they'll never get the gold back, of course, because that gold is in China and it can never go back. So all they have is a claim. And you have the same with the futures market. Paper gold only, no real physical gold to back it, or only a fraction of physical gold backing it. This is one day why the East will rule and the Western financial system will not last, because the ones who hold the gold rule the world. And the Chinese understand that. And one day that will happen. Western central bank gold is left.
I love that. That's the golden rule. He who has the gold rules. So here's a few that I was watching on China. The first one, China's government funds depleted, withdrawals need police approval. So this woman goes into the bank in China. She can't get her money out. Why do you want your money out? What's my money? So in China, the banks aren't letting the citizens have their money. And that's coming to a theater near you. The second one, 800 million Chinese in debt, 400 million overdue. So now everybody in China's in a massive debt problem. Interest rates have gone up, and they can't pull their money to get out of debt. This lady's 40 years old, and she says, I owe like $5 million in debt, and she can't get her money out. And so a lot of Chinese have been using their credit cards, owe it, and they can't pay it back. So that's the other problem with China. Shut the fuck up. Then there's this one, crisis in Beijing, streets filled with tears. Millions of workers are fleeing, people crying everywhere. There's a bullet train that goes from Shanghai to Beijing, I guess. That's normally packed. You normally can't get a ticket, and there's nobody on it. So that was that. Here's another Egon.
Government governments and central banks have this wonderful instrument today that people still think is real money, which is actually just issuing paper. Paper gold, paper silver, and they just dump that to the market. And some buyers just absorb that. One day, the holders of paper gold will realize that they will never get delivery because there ain't any gold to deliver against it. And they will sit there with their piece of paper, and whether it's COMEX or the bullion banks, all the people dealing gold, they will default. That time, there just won't be any gold available, and the gold price obviously shoots straight up, and it will be very hard to buy gold.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
So this is why I tell you to buy physical. Once you have it, you're fine. Nobody can fuck with you. But if you buy the ETFs or the stocks, you think in the ETFs you're buying physical. You're wrong. There is no physical. Sprout should go to jail for this whole Ponzi scheme of this ETF. So do not be mistaken by buying an ETF. If you're in one, get the fuck out. Go to the gold store and buy it before you can't find any more gold. It's all gone. The only gold I get is when some old lady or guy comes to the gold store and sells his gold because he needs money. And that's how the guy has gold to sell. That's why they're normally ounces. So that's what's happening. There's very few. I can't find quarter and half ounces. I got a MS-70 dime, a $10 gold, but he charged me the same $300. And that's it. There is no more physical to buy. So you got to be very careful with that.
My friend, good to see you.
Be able to build a business.
This was yesterday. I did show it, but we'll watch it again.
And our passion is really to help people to be so.
Actually, I showed you this. Let's go to another one. So I was watching Alligator, and he was.
That's why blood sugar increases and the feet burn. Did you know that type 2 is a completely reversible?
The answer, basically, I'm afraid, is you've got to accumulate coin and bars, both gold and silver. Silver I regard as gold on steroids because, I mean, the gold-silver ratio is just crazy. I mean, at 80 or 85 or something they speak. This is nonsensical. Moving from the days when, you could just trade gold and if you're a bullion bank, you're probably running a short book. So what you do is, you trade it and every now and then the punters, hedge funds get a bit overextended. You can bang it and trigger all the stops and get your position back and all the rest of it. That's not happening now. And I think that's the big difference. And the reason it's not happening is because there are bigger forces at play. I think it's probably surprised a lot of people that despite the price rise, the Chinese are continuing to buy. And so are other central banks. So what's all this about? Well, I mean, the answer is quite simple. And that is it's not gold going up, it's paper currencies going down. And this is very, very important. It's very important to get this message early because...
Well, it's also wrong. It is the gold going up based on demand. So if 100 people want this card, as I say, the price of the card goes up because of the demand. In gold, there is a lot of demand for gold. That does make the price go up. So there's two things which he's not understanding. How much more can the dollar go down? It can't because it's already gone 99%. And, it's how much more is it going down? But gold isn't going up because of COMEX and the price fixing. So he's a little bit missing there. The real price of gold's 10 times higher. And it's because of demand, because the dollar's fucked. So on part of it is, the dollar going down was when we go back to 1971, we say $35, and now it's $2,700. that's the dollar going down. But really, it should be 27,000 because they're keeping the price down with the paper gold. They're flooding the market with the paper, but nobody's looking at the real physical market of it. And that demand is what's driving the gold price also up. So he misses that point. He's very frustrating because he just can't seem to understand that. So I don't know.
When the general public finally realizes that it's not the price of eggs or the price of coffee or whatever going up, but actually the purchasing power of their currency going down, then the currency is doomed.
Our currency is doomed.
The general public wakes up to it. I can tell you, the dollar, sterling, euro, yen will all be a lot lower. Now, I put it that way rather than saying gold is going to be a lot higher. Because if you think as an investor, you look at gold and you think gold's going up. I mean, as we talk, I don't know what it'll be when this is released, but as we talk, it's had a good day. I see it's up $18. It's currently trading at 2,712, challenging the levels we saw, sort of 4 weeks ago. If it breaks that, then it's going to go and hit new highs and so on. But do we really want to pay this much for gold? I mean, perhaps we should hang on and wait for a decent shakeout. It's gone too far. But the point they miss is it's not gold going up. It's the currencies going down. Now, obviously, nothing goes down in a straight line or in an even tempo. But I think if you understand that, then you understand that really what your strategy should be is not trading it, but actually accumulating it and accumulating the physical, not paper. This is a very, very important point.
And that's what I tell you. You're buying the coins and the bars. You're not buying the paper. You don't want ETFs and that. And we just talked about that. And like he said, accumulating. So when asked, what am I going to sell it? The answer is never. I'm buying to build wealth and to get out of the dollar. So as I get paid and I get more dollars in, I take them to the gold because I know the dollar's going to zero and I don't want to hold it. But the only thing I can get out of it is either buy a Rolex or buy gold. And I'd rather buy the gold right now because Rolex could be $100,000 and I can get a quarter ounce for 700. That's going to be 7,000. So that's how I view it. Now, Howard, how is gold why will COMEX blow up? Well, because of BRICS. And they're going to come out with gold. He who has the gold controls everything, and they want their gold to go up in price. And there's going to be way more buyers than supply will have to go elsewhere for their gold. And therefore, that'll break COMEX because they won't. We're 2,700 and these guys are at 3,500 or they're at 5,000 because that's what they can get for it. Because if somebody wants to buy my gold, he ain't getting it for 2,700. Add a zero to it. You're going to pay 10 grand for my gold. And more people will do that once they realize how valuable the gold is. And when I went into the store, I told the guy, my biggest fear is that you won't take dollars for gold. He says, well, I don't see that happening for a while. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah? When the dollar goes out, do you really want bullshit dollars for the gold? So he learns a lot when I walk in the store. He should pay me commission to come in. But that's what I'm saying. No ETFs. You buy the physical. Nobody can attack on Wall Street you and say, oh, your real estate trust is zero. Nobody can do that if you have physical gold in your hand because nobody controls it. The price is set by the market kind of divertly by the market. In other words, the physical market is saying the price is much higher, not COMEX. And there's too much buying going on in COMEX to really lower the price. So that's where it's at. We're expecting 3,000 by the end of the year. And we got 4 days. So actually today's Friday and nothing happens on the weekend. So we basically have till Monday and Tuesday to get it to 3,000, which I don't see that happening yet. But you should start saying, something's going to happen in January. And I don't know. That's why I'm like running now to buy more because once it goes, you're you're lucky to find it. And if you do, it's going to be a lot more expensive. You're going to buy silver at $75 an ounce. You could have bought it at 32. How pissed are you going to be when it hits 70 and you didn't buy it now? You know it's going up, and you know you can't get hurt with it, and you know you're getting out of the dollars before they go to zero. Or this central bank digital bullshit or Bitcoin. None of that's real, and I wouldn't get in any of that. Just stay in the dollar, stay in gold and silver. All right, let's see.
And of course, the whole of the investment industry has a difficulty here because gold is not a regulated investment. So how do you get it past your compliance officer? Well, the answer is you go out and buy ETFs. But your problem with the ETF is you don't own the gold. And worse than that, not only do you not own the gold, you don't actually own the shares in the ETFs unless you have specifically decided to take delivery of certificates. Now, this is a very important point because the owner of, or if you like, the owner of the certificates, in effect, is the clearinghouse, the intermediary, the big boys in the middle, basically, who guarantee settlement. Euroclear, whatever. And why have they got it? Well, I mean, the answer is quite simple. You've got a huge, great derivative mountain, which is absolutely enormous. And the fear is that at some stage we get a crisis and that could be jeopardized. So what they want is they want your stock to have as collateral to deliver in order to ensure that that whole mountain of deliveries of derivatives doesn't collapse. So, ETFs don't get you out of it. The answer basically, I'm afraid, is you've got to accumulate coin and bars, both gold and silver. Silver I regard as gold on steroids because, I mean, the gold-silver ratio is just crazy. I mean, at 85 or something, as we speak. This is nonsensical.
But that's price fixed by COMEX. They're not letting the silver run because there's too many derivatives they have where they're trying to get the price down to get out of their derivatives, which they can't do. So that's why silver stayed. Gold, they have no choice because it's tier 1 and Basel 3. So as they do the derivatives with gold, it keeps getting bought, and the price, the demand, all the central banks are buying gold. They're not really buying silver yet. They will when gold runs out and then the price goes up. And then they go, hey, silver's money also. Let's get into silver. And that's what's going to happen. Silver is money, as is gold. But right now, the central banks are buying the gold bars. They're not buying the silver yet, but that's coming.
I mean, I don't see it going back down to the sort of 15, 16, if you like, when when silver was treated or valued as money. I don't. It
is money, alligator.
But these levels on the ratio are just absolutely crazy. And as gold goes up, silver will go up twice as fast to bring that ratio down to something which is, if you like, more sensible. So I think, 2024 was interesting. 2025 is going to get even more interesting, I think. I would see these currencies, the fiat currencies, going down in 2025, at least as much as they've gone down in terms of their purchasing power measured.
They're going down because they keep printing it. He doesn't seem to understand that point. The money is being printed to death because they got all the socialist programs. They got to print for defense. They got to print for Social Security. They got to print for the big governments in every country. And it's not backed by anything. So everyone's going to zero. So he doesn't quite get, he knows they're going down, but he really doesn't get why. And that's why gold's the only answer, because you can't print gold. You can't counterfeit it like they do the dollars. But every country's in the same thing. The dollar's not backed by gold. They need the gold for the defense, the military, the social programs, because all of Europe is socialism. And they need, the guy's unemployed. The guy's on Social Security. And we got to print money to do it. And they all are building debts because they can't afford. They're spending more than they're making. So this is all the big problem. So that's what's really happening. doesn't quite understand. And silver will be 10-1 gold once that goes to free market, because gold will get so expensive at 20,000 an ounce. Silver will then, everybody will jump into silver, and then that'll get to 10-1. Greg, good morning.
Against real money, which is gold. And there are other problems in the background. And I think one thing that could really drive this very, very hard is the debt mountains that governments have. If you look at the G7, there's only one of the G7 which doesn't have a debt to GDP ratio of around about 100% or more, and that's Germany. And they've got their own set of problems. And the theme that I've really been trying to get people to understand is the dangers of this. We have a new president in America starting January sometime, mid-January. And he's made it quite clear, and his nominated Treasury Secretary has also made it quite clear that the strategy basically is to try and cut income taxes, corporation taxes, and make up the shortfall through tariffs, through trade tariffs. Now, this to me is ringing huge alarm bells, because the comparison, I think, has got to be with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930.
29.
But it's worse than that. I mean, it's, the whole thing is a bit piecemeal. The idea that the president is actually going to set the tariffs rather than Congress setting the tariffs, if you like. But
your type 2 diabetes has a solution. No mystery.
It's called Don't Eat Sugar.
Going to set the tariffs rather than Congress setting the tariffs, if you like. But this time round, of course, we're moving from a point where everything has been internationalized. You've got supply chains going everywhere. I mean, look at Microsoft. When you have your iPad or whatever, I mean, the design is done in California. Fine, and the packaging is done in California, perhaps, or it's designed in California. But all the rest is done in Asia. This is going to be incredibly disruptive, and there are so many aspects of this that what it will do is when you start pushing up tariffs, I mean, Trump said he's going to put 100% tariffs on BRICS members, if they start talking about a new currency replacing the dollar. I mean, well, we've got to treat that as a bit of a joke. But you can see that what would happen is that those countries under that policy would merely reply with their own tariffs against America. And who would really suffer? Well, I mean, the answer is, and this was the lesson of Smoot-Hawley, that global economy suffers. And in this case, we're particularly talking about the Western alliance, if you like.
All right, so let's explain that. Tariffs are what? They're taxes on goods and services from other countries. And we tariff them and they tariff us. Well, why is there a problem? Because you're making the costs go up. As I said about the Camry yesterday, I bought it for 24. I go in to get the oil change. It's 35. The guy can't sell any. I go, because your market's 24. You got to, maybe you get 25 or 6 out of it. You can't get 35. There's no market for it. Well, let's do this to every good and product. If you tariff everything, you raise the cost. The cost goes over market, right? I'll buy tennis shoes for $50. You're making them $100 now, or shirts or food or whatever it is. You're making it more expensive over market, and therefore nobody can afford it or is willing to pay for it. Only this is the whole world. And so you create this huge recession because now the costs are not at market. They're way too expensive because you're adding this tariff or tax on it, which raises the prices on everything, which you can't do because the market has set all the prices. So if tuna fish is $2 and you agree to it, that's the price. And all of a sudden it's $5. It's over market. Nobody's going to buy it. That causes a recession because you can't sell your goods and services. And it's not like we all of a sudden have more money to pay for it. So now we have to pick and choose because we have the same money. I got rent, I got utilities, and I got food and gas for the car and car payment and car insurance. And, I don't have much left to buy tennis shoes or that, especially at this higher price. or golf clubs or tennis rackets. So I'm basically fucked. And that's what happens. The country's 36 trillion in debt. Yeah, thanks, Gregor. Yeah, I mean, we know they're 36 in debt, as all the countries are.
Europe, UK, Japan, Australia, God bless them, where I've just come back from. This is a very serious thing. So what does that do to the budget deficit in America? Well, the answer is it drives it up. So instead of having a deficit of 2 trillion under these policies, you know, you're going to have a shortfall of taxes because you've got a slump. I mean, I'm going to mince no words on this. It's going to be a slump if that happens. And at the same time, of course, all the welfare obligations are far greater than anything we've had in the past.
See, he doesn't get it. It's a slump. No, you've raised prices over the market. This is the part that the bankers don't seem to get, and the stockbrokers. There's a market that dictates price, and when you try to price things over the market, you don't sell it. Yet I never hear any of them understand that. They just know there's going to be a slump. There's going to be a recession. Yeah, because things get too expensive. The money's not worth as much, so it won't buy as much. And it keeps getting printed. And you go into gold because you can't print the gold, and therefore it won't lose its value. But the dollar will keep going down because you got to print to pay the debt, the interest on the debt, the Social Security, the welfare, all the stuff that you need to print money because you've turned socialist and you want to hand out for votes. Well, we're going to give you money for this, that, and the other. Where are you going to get the money from? Well, we'll print it. Yeah, but that kills the value of the dollar, which the Keynesians don't get. They think just keep printing. But egon, alligator doesn't get it.
So that deficit, I mean, I think it's looking like 3 trillion bid, if I can use dealers' terminology. That is destructive of the dollar, particularly when no foreigners are really all that interested in buying new debt, and certainly not at these levels. So that drives up interest rates. So you drive up interest rates while the economy is tanking with all that debt to GDP. I mean, it's a disaster, a complete disaster. And there is another point, Andy, which about bubbles. I mean, the thing about a bubble is that very few people actually understand they're in a bubble. We are in a bubble. I mean, this has been a rolling bubble. You know, the joke has been we kick the can down the road. They've been doing that since the 1980s. So each bubble feeds into the next one, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, that's what the symptom of all this debt is. And consequently, we're sitting here on the biggest bubble, credit bubble, in history. And it's going to burst. And it's going to burst with higher interest rates when the whole thing starts toppling down. That is what we're going to see in 2025. And the Fed is going to be powerless in this. I mean, the Fed's response every time has been to lower interest rates when things start looking like they're falling apart, you know, like the great financial crisis back in 2008-9, like following the dot-com crisis, you know, when Greenspan reduced interest rates. I think he reduced the Fed funds down to about 1% or whatever. We've had a number of mini crises since, but, you know, basically zero interest rates, that's as low as it can go. It can't go any lower than that. And so how are they going to deal with this bubble bursting? Well, the answer is that it's going to be very, very messy, particularly when all the central banks are in negative equity. I mean, with the honourable exception of the Bank of England, because they push the cost onto the Treasury. But you know, they really are in negative equity. And they are meant to be the lenders of last resort. They are meant to be.
Okay. So we know what's coming and we know why it's coming, which is all that matters. Anyway, so that's what we know for this is not an opinion. This is all facts. The dollar will go to zero like it's always done. throughout history, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, the England, Germany, Venezuela, Brazil, Greece, Argentina, and there's nothing you can do. Once the boat starts sinking because the water is coming in, how do you stop it? You can't plug the hole, so the water just keeps coming in till you sink. That's what we've got going on. So it's not like, oh, well, they'll stop it or they'll fix it or they'll raise interest rates. That's all prices. We don't give a shit about prices. Prices are not inflation. It's the money being printed is the inflating the supply, which makes the value of the dollar go down and you flood it. And that's what's happening. All right, with that, I'm going to go buy some gold and silver and I'm off to the pool. So have a good day, everybody. Good luck on the football. If you want to buy till the end of the year, $200, you get everything, all the college and pro, all the college playoff games, $100 if you just want the pros. If you've already bought the bowls, for $100, you get the pros through the Super Bowl. So we've got this week and next week. This week, there's 4 locks. I'll find many locks. I got a college lock this week, and then off we go with the bowl games, the playoffs, and then the NFL. So that's what you get. So if you want that, so good luck with that. Otherwise, you can keep doing what you're doing and buying week by week by week. And that's perfectly fine. It's all up to you. And I know people are probably hit by the inflation and the recession. And, so I'm trying to make you money on the football so you can go buy gold. I hate when I hear I don't have any money to buy gold and silver. And I'm like, you don't have $30? Come on, man. Quit bullshitting me. So have a nice day, everybody. www.teaserking.com. You get my email if you want to ask me questions. I'm off the gold. I will show you tomorrow if I got some. Hopefully he's got quarter ounce. If not, I'll buy some more silver and off I go. All right. Have a good night. Good luck on your football. And tomorrow we got three pro games and some college. And then Sunday, all the pros and a couple of locks in there. Really good. A 35 unit and a 31 unit. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a nice day. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year on the other end.